That's right guys, on today's video we are talking about Pola's latest flagship multi-sport watch, the VANTAGE V2. Now I've had this watch for a couple of weeks, testing it out, just getting used to it, getting used to all the features and just everything that goes with learning a new watch. And in this video I'm going to be telling you what I like. There's a couple of things I don't like and kind of comparing it to other watches. Specifically the watch that I've been using for the past couple of years, the Garmin Fenix 5X. Let me just get a couple of disclosures out of the way. This Polar VANTAGE V2 was sent to me for the purpose of review. There were no other expectations. No one is going to get a chance to view the video before you guys see it on YouTube. Now that that's out of the way, I've been having a lot of fun with this watch. Let's take a look at it. I guess let's start with price, because that's a pretty important thing to consider when you're thinking about getting a new watch. The Polar VANTAGE V2 comes in at around $500. It's $499.99 or something. It's about £440 in the UK. It's about $700 in Australia. With that said, I think it packs a pretty good punch for value. Does that make sense? It's good value. I guess that's all relative, and it also depends on what features you actually use, because this watch has so many more features than I would actually use, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because when I switched from my Fenix 5 Plus, Fenix 5 Plus has a few more features than this Polar VANTAGE V2. I've been wearing Garmin my entire running career, and this is my first trip into Polar, and I've been very impressed, but I've got used to having certain features even if I don't use them. So we're going to talk more about that. First of all, if you are after a watch like this, no, it is a sports watch. It is not a smartwatch. If you want sports features with some smartwatch functionality, then keep watching. So now that I've already gone on to smart features, let's just briefly talk about them. You can get notifications on this watch. So for the last couple of weeks, I've had notifications turned on, and I've been getting text messages. I've been getting notifications when someone is at my front door. I've been getting notifications when someone trips the motion detectors on my cameras around the house. There is also music controls. Now there is no onboard music storage, but if you do take your phone with you, the watch pairs to the phone and you can control the music on the watch face. It's a pretty good feature. It's not one I actually use, but I'm happy to have it. This watch has everything that you are going to need for 99.99% of the time. So running is my primary sport. That is the main reason, the main way that I am going to use this watch. However, there are 130 other sports that I could use this watch for, and I just have to pull those from the app and put them on the watch. And let's talk about aesthetics, because I really think this watch looks pretty sweet. It's got an aluminum shell, which makes it super light. This watch weighs in at 52 grams. Compared to my Garmin Fenix 5 Plus at 98 grams, this watch feels barely noticeable on my wrist. The watch band is easily replaceable, and Polar has a boatload of them that you can just buy in whatever color you want. The customization features are pretty limited. You have a couple different watch faces that you can use. You can choose a digital watch face or an analog watch face, and there's just a couple of each. But that's not really a bad thing. I don't like to be spoiled for choice. I don't want so many options that I don't know what to choose. I'm happy with the watch face that I have, and I can always change it if I want to look at an analog watch face instead. So let's talk about buttons. It does have 5 buttons, 3 on the right side of the watch, 2 on the left, and those control how you access all the features. It also has a touchscreen. The touchscreen is just a little laggy. It's just not crisp. I think it's pretty handy to have, and I did have a Forerunner back in the day that had a touchscreen. I remember thinking that a touchscreen wasn't the best for a GPS, for a sports watch, for a watch that you're going to be out sweating because your hands get wet and sometimes the screen doesn't read when you touch it. I think Polar has fixed this problem. Now, of course, this touchscreen is a little laggy. They can probably improve that responsiveness. But the great thing is that when you're in a sports mode, the touchscreen turns off. You're not going to be running and then brush the screen and then it goes off, or you turn off your watch. That doesn't happen. When you're in a sports mode, only the buttons control the watch. The screen is a 240 by 240 pixel resolution. It has an always-on display, and it has the sensor, so when you lift it up, the light turns on. It also has an ambient light sensor, so if you're in full sunlight, it will also brightened so you can see the screen, and if you're out in the dark, the light will come on, but it won't be as bright. Okay, let's talk about power. Let's talk about battery life for a second, because this is hugely important. You do not want to get to the start line of a race and you just don't have enough battery to actually finish the race. This watch will actually run for up to 100 hours if you set it correctly. So if you set your GPS to ping the satellites at a longer interval, you can run up to 100 hours, which is a pretty long event that you're going to be out there. How many of you have actually done an event that lasts over 100 hours? For most of us, we leave our watch set to pinging the satellites every second, and that gets us the most reliable data because it is constantly updating your position with the satellites every second. You can get up to 40 hours of battery life in GPS mode. But here's what I really like. Okay, so right now when I'm making this video, my watch is at 60%. If I access the running app, so let's say I'm going to go for a run and I see, oh, I've got 60%, I can see here that in GPS mode, my watch will last for 19 hours. Polar also claims that the watch will last up to 7 days in just regular watch mode, so that's not using GPS. The number probably fits. I didn't test it out. I didn't not use it for 7 days and only wear it as a watch to actually try that, but what I did do was use it on a regular basis. I was going out every single day, maybe a couple of times, and using the GPS feature. I had all notifications turned on, and I found that it lasted 4 days between charges. I don't know about you, but I'm okay with charging my watch every 4 days. That doesn't seem too intrusive. I should also point out that 40 hours of GPS life is with the always on heart rate monitor. The Polar VANTAGE V2 does have a GPS, which is assisted GPS, and that just helps it find the satellites. It does support all the positioning satellites depending on where you are in the world. It comes default setted to GPS and GLONASS, but you can also change it to GPS and Galileo or GPS and QZSS. In the name of wellness and not just going out and exercise, it actually has a feature called Serene, and that just runs you through a breathing exercise, and it's totally up to you how long you do it for. You can set the intervals, you can set the breath intervals, you can set how long you're going to be breathing in and breathing out. I've used it a couple times, and it's a nice way to lower your stress level, and it's nice just having that feature on the watch to actually have something to walk you through it. The Polar VANTAGE V2 can be set to remind you to take in your fuel. You can set reminders to remind you when to drink. It seems really handy for the really long races, like if you're going out and you're doing an ultra marathon where you're going to be out for a really long time. Do you guys live in a hilly area? The hill splitter feature is pretty key. The watch knows when you're climbing a hill based on GPS altitude, GPS speed, and it does have a barometric altimeter. It takes that information, it crunches it, and it gives you all your stats for the ascent of a hill and a descent. The Polar Flow app is a lot better than Garmin Connect. As well as being easy to use and you can see all your data that was on the watch, the sleep tracking is just fantastic. Sleep is where we improve, right? So we want to know how we're sleeping. If we're not sleeping well, we want to know how we can sleep better. It's a pleasure to look at, to see when you had deep sleep, when you had light sleep, how many stages of REM sleep you had. Like a lot of other watches out there, the watch does tell you if you are overreaching, if you're not doing enough, if you're being productive, if you are under training, and it just kind of prompts you to do a little more or a little less. The watch has several built-in tests to help you be the best athlete possible. First up is the running test. It's going to estimate your VO2 max. It's going to give you a maximum heart rate. It's about a 40-minute exercise, and that includes a 10-minute warm-up, a gradual build up to a maximal or a sub-maximal effort, and then you have an optional 10-minute cool down. It'll tell you your maximum aerobic speed and give you your maximum aerobic pace. Stay tuned because I will be doing this test and I will make a video when I do it. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. The watch also has a leg recovery test, and this is a well-known metric to measure muscle recovery. It's all just set on the watch. You go to the screen, you set it, and you have to do 3 jumps. It measures how high you jump, it compares that to past jumps, and then it gives you a number of how recovered you actually are. It does have a cycling test, so if you have a power meter on your bike, you can go out and you can do an FTP test. I am just going to talk very briefly about accuracy. I think there are a lot of YouTubers out there that can do a better job at comparing accuracy than I can, but I'm just going to run into what I found when I've compared it against my Garmin Fenix 5 Plus. Okay, I just pulled up this very short segment of a run I did just a few days ago. I was wearing both watches. We can see here, this is the Garmin on the left, and we can see here that the GPS signal kind of cuts the corner. Both watches show me a little to the left of where I was. Okay, this next screenshot that you're going to see is some comparison software. It was given to me by Running with Mark, another great running YouTuber. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. We can see here that the blue is the Polar, the orange is the Garmin. It looks like, again, the Garmin kind of cut the corner here. Now both watches, I was running on the path right down the middle here, and both watches are kind of Garmin's to the right, Polar's to the left. So I guess what I'm getting at with my very unscientific comparison methods is that both watches seem to excel at different times. Garmin, Polar, Suunto, these are some big hitters in our sports, and to compare GPS data from them, I think we're going to find that whatever we do, whatever we compare, some are going to excel at some points, some are going to excel at other points. I'm not going to draw too much from my very brief comparison. If you have any more questions about this watch, if you have questions on something that I haven't talked about or you want me to expand, please write in the comments below. In a nutshell, this is a premium sports watch. I think for $500, yes, it's a lot of money, and I think it's money well spent. This really hits a sweet spot if you're looking for a premium GPS sports watch. And I'll be the first one to admit, I don't use this watch to its full potential. I use it very limitedly. I use it for running. If I remember to turn it on when I'm doing strength training, I will. If I'm doing an elliptical session, I'll put it on. I'll use the spin setting when I'm on my spin bike. Other than that, there are sports settings for everything. So if I ever find myself doing some random sport, I can go to the app, I can bring it into the watch, and then I can set and I can record it. Pretty fun. Okay guys, thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. If you like it, if you like getting new running tech, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so right now. My friends, I'll see you in a couple days. Be kind, be happy, run well.